It now gives me great pleasure to call upon Ms. Ashleigh Sternberg to deliver the valedictory address.
Girls, you're late for my class again. Would you just stop talking already? But Mr. Corrales, we're not even... Oh, don't give me any excuses. Ladies and gentlemen, faculty, and students, it's so hard for me to believe that our elementary years have finally come to an end. It feels as if it was just yesterday when I stumbled through those Ridley gates for the very first time. I was so nervous and my legs were trembling so much that it caused my socks to end up around my ankles. I thought that socks purchased at the used clothing store would at least get me through the first day of school. This made it rather difficult to make a good first impression. My grade 6 year commenced as I was greeted in the Mandeville Theater by Mr. Smith. His opening words to me were, "Who are you?" It wasn't very long before Mr. Smith and I discovered that we actually have something in common. For those of you who haven't already noticed, this facial feature happens to be our noses. Grade 7 was kicked off with a 3-hour bus ride up to Camp White Pine. There we were introduced to Nick, Noah Rastigar, Noah Karachi, Sue Min, Andrew, Jacob, Ian, Alex Herbert, and later on in the year, Sandy. I would have to say that the highlight of Camp White Pine was cheering on Joseph as he showed off his dance moves to the song Thriller. There is no doubt that he left Michael Jackson with some tough competition. Our 8th and final year of elementary school began again with yet another trip up to Camp White Pine. It was rather embarrassing when I walked up to Jan and asked him, "Do you speak English?" I was quite humiliated when he replied, "I live in Beamsville." I guess that's a lesson learned not to judge a book by its cover. I still recall arriving at the 8A classroom and being informed that Mr. O'Rourke was my homeroom teacher. I immediately realized that when he described punctuality as important, I was in for a bumpy ride. Each morning I arrived at school at approximately 8:04. I would frantically make my way into the building and bolt up the stairs. Mr. Milligan almost always just happened to be in my path, tapping his watch and shaking his head. Each time I approached my classroom, completely out of breath, Mr. O'Rourke never failed to slam the door in my face. I'm still questioning the fact how I managed to make it through the year without even being awarded with some kind of detention. Just a couple of weeks ago, we all remembered something. It was a deal that was made 3 years ago. Dr. Baird had assured us that when we graduate from grade 8, he would show us his driver's license, therefore revealing the number we have all been waiting for. His age. So, Dr. Baird, a promise is a promise. I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to Mr. O'Rourke for each and every time that Rachel and I managed to disturb his class by our unexpected fits of laughter. But they did add a little bit of excitement to those lengthy history lessons. You can only comprehend so many reasons for Confederation. One of the weekly routines that all students at Ridley College partake in is advisory. This is when students and teachers have the opportunity to discuss matters related to the character virtue of the month. Although my advisory group, which was led by Miss Howe, rarely took part in any of these particular discussions, it was still recognized what a great deal of effort was put into each and every one. It has been a common practice for a cluster of us to tiptoe down the hall in search of daily treats left out for the younger children. all of a sudden, Miss Bennet would swoop down out of nowhere and snatch the tray of cookies from beneath our noses. Oh, and we all know what a ruckus is made when Rachel is left hungry. There was one accomplishment in particular this year that, in my opinion, deserves a special mention. Congratulations, girls. We managed to make it through this year without ever having to let the hem of our kilts down. Sorry we let you down, Miss Howe. Music. Mr. Dawson, I don't believe that it's all your talent that makes us such amazing musicians. I think we all agree that it could be the fear that lingers within us of a piece of chalk being torpedoed in our direction. Although only the joyful memories have been reminisced, there is a downside to this treasured day. Not all 40 grade 8 students are returning to Ridley College next year. Andrea, Rachel, David, Noah Rastigar, and Tyga, you will all be tremendously missed. However, that is definitely not to say that you will be forgotten. The memoirs that have been created with each and every one of you will remain in our hearts forever. Andrea, I am nearly positive that I will never be able to listen to the song entitled Goodbye My Lover again without tears forming in my eyes. I am certain that we managed to cry on every bus ride this year based on the day of June 17th, 2011. And Rachel, from this day on, every time I am sitting in class and I develop the sudden urge to laugh, I will remember our numerous fun experiences together. So this leaves me with a great deal of sadness to accept the fact that this anticipated day has finally approached and we are forced to say our goodbyes. Although we have embarked on numerous trips together, whether it be camping in the Burgoyne woods or riding the slopes in St. Donat, I would have to say that Quebec was a great way for all of us to kiss our elementary years goodbye. Whale watching was one of our many highlights. Clearly the waves were a bit much for some of us to handle. Tim. The belugas were jumping for joy when they received a taste of Tim's breakfast. I would also like to thank Miss Morrissey for turning a blind eye and allowing a few of us to crash a wedding in our hotel. I'm sure we all know that the girls had the perks in Quebec. Oh, monsieur, we even saw you crack a smile or two on the trip. Each of us has come to Ridley for our own personal reasons, but I must say, Mr. Milligan, you have been the most understanding and incredible principal that any student would be lucky enough to have. And for this, we thank you. But remember, Mr. Milligan, this definitely is not goodbye, because if we ever need to have a chat, we all know where you live. So as we enter a new chapter of our lives, I would like to congratulate the class of 2011. Our hard work this year has paid off. As Mark Twain once said, 20 years from now, you will 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bow lines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover. Thank you.